traditional farming, the good old times. Here's an example of 1930s Ireland. A romantic replica of how the 1930s were supposed to have looked like. We have seen in the last two videos that plants have become much more productive, with the result of hunger being a thing of the past for much of the planet. But same as our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, the chimpanzees, most of us are not vegan. So what about the animals we keep as our meat, dairy and egg suppliers? Have they changed as well? Hello and welcome to our third episode of our present relationship with food on Edo Ergo Sum, I am what I eat. In the first two, we were looking at how we have manipulated the plants we eat with select breeding techniques to squeeze more out of them. While traditionalists may mourn this development, there is no denying that this has helped us avoiding a hunger catastrophe in a world that has a population that is now 4 times as big as 100 years ago and 20 times what it was when Columbus discovered America. We do, however, not only have more people, most of them also have more access to what is called higher quality nutrition. Food from animal sources like meat, dairy and eggs. Compared to 60 years ago, meat production has increased tremendously in many parts of the world, especially China. Just look at this graph from our world in data. Of course, this high production volume was only possible because consumption has increased as well. It is now around 120 kilo per person and year in the United States, 80 kilo in Europe, and 60 kilo in both China and Japan, whereas it is only 4 kilo in India. This high consumption level in developed economies have only lately seen some reductions due to health concerns. The productivity increase needed for this means that the animals we breed for our meat have undergone quite some change. My family owns a small 19th century barn in the Swiss Alps. I am less than 1,80 m, so about 6 feet tall, but I have trouble standing in that barn, as the ceiling is too low. So has a modern cow, since she too is too tall, even on 4 legs. Since cows were kept in this barn, this means they were smaller, same as the people who looked after them. Smaller animals meant less meat and less milk. Today's Holstein-Friesian high-yielding cows, the most widespread cattle breed in the world, produce more milk in 2 weeks than early 19th century Prussian cows did in a whole year. Same for pigs. Your average sow in the Western world produces not your happy 6 to 8 piglets you see in the wild, but a dozen offspring in one go. With fowl, the change is even more profound. The average chicken of the 1950s looks like a starved relative of the broilers now on a farm, even if the latter have been raised in less time. This is how a chicken looked like in America in 1957, after 57 days of hatching at the time of slaughter. It was 900 grams on average. 20 years later, in 1978, its size has doubled to 1.8 kilogram. By 2005, the weight of the average American chicken just before slaughter has doubled again to more than 4 kilogram. All this while being a shorter time on this planet. A chicken today raised for meat can expect to live on this planet for no more than 30 to 40 days in the developed world. This is also for its own good. It has to be killed then, because its bones cannot support such a heavy body anymore, as they start to crack. Or take the turkey, the centerpiece of an American Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner with a worldwide fan base. This bird has been even more transformed than a chicken, having grown from a small hen-like fowl of 4 to 6 kilogram, still the norm in Cuba, to the 20 to 25 kilogram colossi now bred in the United States. Is there a limit to all this? There are in animal husbandry both practical and ethical limits. First, the practical ones. Consider the number of piglets a sow can produce in one go. Since your average sow has 12 to 18 teats, piglets need their mother's milk to survive, and each piglet has exclusive access to its own teats 3 days after birth. The number of piglets produced in one go cannot go much higher than it already does. Or take the turkey. If it continues to grow as it has in the last 100 years, we will be facing Godzilla-like birds with a height of more than 10 meters in 500 years. This is according to calculations by The Economist, a British news magazine. This is clearly not going to happen. Many turkeys are eaten whole, roasted for several hours. You would have trouble selling birds that your customers cannot fit into an oven anymore, or even bring home. Also, that problem could be solved with a delivery service. This rules out 10-meter high birds, since the size of kitchen appliances has not changed much over the last 100 years. This limits the size of a turkey you can breed. Indeed, we have trouble fitting a bigger goose, a traditional German Christmas treat, into my combined oven and microwave wonder. So a whole turkey that is even bigger is out of the question already now. Even if you can imagine that ovens get bigger, as fashions can change, there is also the long-term trend of having smaller families that rein in the bird size. There is a limit to how much leftovers your guests are willing to take home after you have invited them to dinner. Other things can also intervene into the turkey size, like the COVID-19 pandemic. It resulted in restrictions about how many people you're allowed to have at a family gathering. This meant that smaller turkeys all of a sudden were in high demand and the bigger beasts harder to sell. Then there are practical reasons that concern neither animal physiognomy, nor the size of kitchen appliances, nor the appetite of guests to take home leftovers, nor COVID-19 restrictions, but human health. There are fears that residues in animal fodder can find their way into the meat, dairy or eggs we consume. This concerns the use of antibiotics, other medicines or growth hormones. Regardless of whether these restrictions are right or wrong, they clearly limit the further productivity growth in animal husbandry. We will look at these problems in detail in another video. Apart from these practical considerations, there are ethical concerns that limit the size of animals for consumption and therefore further increases in productivity growth. More and more people in the affluent parts of the world question the wisdom of eating animals that had to suffer before they were slaughtered. Take for example the cattle breed Belgian Blue. Whereas most of us have no problem with the fact that most cows of any breed are artificially inseminated in modern agriculture. A sexual revolution if there ever was one. Many people are troubled by the fact that these Belgian Blue cows can't deliver offspring through their natural birth channel as that is too narrow. The beasts have to undergo a Caesarean section. For this reason, the cattle breed is prohibited in some countries, even if their meat is supposed to be highly prized, since it is very lean due to a natural mutation in the myostatin gene that inhibits muscle development and therefore with fat deposition, again something which makes many people squeezy, as it is supposed to be unnatural. Unnatural? And a cow that produces almost 10 tons of milk annually isn't? We have long passed the natural mark, not only for ourselves but also for the animals we consume. There are other concerns, like the density in which some animals have to live that can cause stress, spread illnesses and burn the environment, like having chicken indoors in cramped conditions. Since we are living in a richer world, at least for most people, these kind of concerns should limit further productivity growth in animal husbandry. If the size of the individual animal is one concern, another is what effect the density of their accommodation can have on their surrounding, since, same as humans, all animals produce waste. Whereas waste is generally welcome as a natural fertilizer, there is a limit to how much a ground can take. If this limit is overstepped, the extra waste lands in our water supplies, something we usually want to avoid for health reasons. This can lead to strange developments. Countries with a lot of animals in cramped surroundings like the Netherlands, where I live, have started the unappetizing procedure of exporting cow slurry. It is stated on the government website that these exports have to be declared and the laws of the receiving country have to be taken into account, as if this was something special. Judged by the sometimes smelly waterways outside of Amsterdam in summer, not all farmers strictly adhere to the law, as has been lamented in a recent newspaper report. Not only plants have become much more productive, the animals we use as our meat, dairy and egg suppliers have changed just as dramatically, or even more so, over the last 2 centuries. The question is just what next, as the limitations to such a development are becoming visible to more and more people. Practical and increasingly ethical concerns will surely limit further productivity growth in animal husbandry. However, we have to be realistic here. Such concerns can only be aired because hunger is no more our #1 concern in most of the world. Why this is so, I have to tell you in my next video. Is this enough food? Thank you for watching the 3rd episode of our present relationship with food on Edo Ego Sum. I am what I eat. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. This would help other people find it on YouTube. If you want to receive more videos like this one, also about the past or future of our relationship with food, consider subscribing to the channel. Now it is your turn. Do you think we are right to have ethical concerns when we talk about the animals we breed for food? As always, please leave your remarks and questions in the comments. Bye for now. Hopefully to the next video, when we talk about why hunger is no more our #1 concern on this planet with, is this enough food?